In this video, we're going to be showing you how to remove what they call the whale tail. Time has come to finally remove that thing and get this thing a little bit more sleek looking, I would say. And kind of, tidy up that back area, get rid of that bulk. As, most bikes don't really look that great with this big and ginormous fender. This ginormous fender sticking out over here. Alright guys, so let me show you the tools that you're going to need. But first things first, we do need to get our key. We're going to put the key right here and we have to remove our seat. Our key, put it in, turn it, and remove it. Alrighty guys, now before we get to the stuff on the top, we do need to remove a screw here at the bottom. I'm going to shine the light and point over here. Right about there, there is a screw. It's going to be with the Phillips screw, so go ahead and remove that one screw. Then next we're going to go ahead and remove 4 screws. And it's going to be with a 10mm socket. One right here. One over here, one over here. You won't be able to see because I have my wires here. You can kind of see it right there and then right there. When removing those screws, just be careful because your whole luggage kind of rack is going to also drop down as well. So as you're loosening those screws, kind of hold on to your luggage rack so it doesn't completely fall down. Now at this point, you'll notice that your luggage rack and your back part of the fender is not going to completely come down. It's because the wires of the license plate and the turn signals are still attached. So just look for the cables are going to be over here, as I'm going to point to it, show you in a second. So look for the wires and then kind of tug it. And while you're tugging on it, you're going to look for it on this side, which ones are being tugged. And as soon as you find them, just go ahead and trace it, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect it from the main harness. So if you look back here from the fender right here, you're going to see the cables for your license plate and your turn signals. So just go ahead, grab the cable, and then just start tugging it like this. And while you're tugging it from that side, you're going to look up here and you're going to see which wire you're tugging on to trace it and then unplug it. I would say at this point, to get some of that weight off of the tail fender area, you can just go ahead and grab your rear luggage and then okay, and then just pretty much just pull it back out, so that way there's not that much weight on the rear fender. All right, so now that we got the rear fender here, we still have our cables. I guess we'll just leave it here off to the side, but we have our cables. We're just going to go ahead and trace where the cables are coming out of or from, and then we are going to disconnect those. Okay, so as of right now, we are looking at the green and orange wire, and then the blue and the green wire. I'm going to trace it inside of this little pouch, and we are just going to go ahead and disconnect them and then pull them out. Okay, next it's going to be the green and the brown wire, and that's going to be for your license plate light. Go ahead and disconnect that, and we should be able to remove the whole entire tail out now. All right, well there we go. Now we have the whole whale tail out of the bike. Alright, now before we actually go and install our new Fender Eliminator kit, now would be a good time to actually install the LED right now, because right now we could move this around and get to, flip it over and get to the screws. Compared to having it on the bike, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So here is the LED that it actually comes with. 3 small LEDs right there. So pretty stealthy looking. So it does have bullet connectors, and pretty much the E-vader has bullet connectors as well, so we should have no issues with plugging it in. But if in case a bike has a different style of connectors, you just go ahead and snip those connectors out. Then you would snip these out and then just replace those with the factory ones. Go ahead, flip it over, and then we're going to run the wires right through the middle here. And then the screws obviously are going to go right here. And then on the other side, we have all the accessories, or those bolts and whatnot are in the bag, including the spacers. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that. Another good thing to do right now is to actually put a little bit of thread lock on the remaining part of the screw, so that way when you tighten the bolt, everything will be nice and tight, and I wouldn't say ever, but the likelihood of the screws coming off will be less if you do put some thread lock on there. And the thread lock you want to use would be the blue stuff, which would be this guy right here. After you get the LED for the license plate on there, I put only a few little zip ties for now, but next we're going to get our plate, which is this part, and we are going to route the wire through the hole that's in the plate right here. So go ahead and put that in through there, get all the way down, and it's going to pretty much rest here on the top. And it's going to line up, you're going to line up your holes right there, and you got your holes there. So it pretty much looks like this. Let me see if I can get a further shot. So it's pretty much going to look like this when we mount it onto the bike. Okay, so the plate does come with hardware. The only problem is that the spacers that it comes with is fine for the bottom part, but when you get to the top, these spacers are just going to go right through the frame of the bike. So let me show you. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab the screw, and make sure you want to put only for the bottom. You're going to grab your spacer, your washer, put only one at the bottom, and that's going to be for all of them. So put on all four, put the one at the bottom. But for the top, but before we do that, obviously the top, I'll put it anyway, but you're going to see that, there we go. For when we go for the top one, pretty much this whole thing's going to go right through. So let's go over to the bike so I can show what I'm talking about. All right, so we're over at the bike, and you can see that the hole on where the original one was is obviously a lot bigger. If we were to put this screw and we put it in through here, obviously those little spacers, you could see it's going to go all the way through. I mean, not so much on this part at the bottom. Well, there we go. Actually, if you wiggle it, it's going to go through. But just to show you that when you put, obviously from the bottom, it's going to be held on. But I'm just trying to show you that the spacers, they're pretty much as big as the hole. So when you tighten it, the whole frame is just going to fall down because it's not going to work. So in order to remedy, you're going to have to get a bigger spacer or a washer. So you're going to have to get 4 bigger ones of these. All right, so back at the bench. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and remove the top one because we're not going to be using it. So now I got 4 spacers that I could use for a different project. I'll go ahead and put that over there. Let me get that out of the way. Then it's also going to come with these rubber grommets. For this particular thing, we're not going to be using these rubber grommets as we have no use for them, really. So you could just put off to the side for a different project. But we are going to use the 4 locking nuts. And the reason I say locking nuts because they do have that nylon. What's going on with my camera here? So they do have that little nylon end part, which pretty much locks this nut in place. So no need for any thread lock in this department. So once we get the frame, so let me just kind of show you right now off of the bike so you guys can see what I'm kind of talking about before we go to the bike and actually put it on there. All right, so I'm just going to show you with one for now. Okay, so we're going to get our bolt, kind of line this up a little bit. Okay, we're going to get our bolt from the bottom. From this side, you can see that the spacer on this side is totally fine. But once we get to the other side of the bike, I mean from the top part or the bottom, whatever. All right, so we're from this part. We already have the screws. We're going to push it in through the bottom. And then once we do that part and this comes out through that top part of the hole there, you're going to go ahead and put your nut and tighten everything down. And you're going to do that for all 4. All right, so let's go over to the bike. Alrighty guys, now this is going to be pretty much the tricky part because we still have to install the luggage rack back on. It's pretty much going to go in first before the bracket. Now, after we do the bracket, I actually decided to install these rubber grommets because there is a spacing from this bracket to the bottom of this. So this will kind of also, if I don't do it with these rubber bumpers, it actually will hit the back tail light and it could actually crack it if I tighten it too much. So by having these rubber bumpers, it will actually help with that part. I only got 2 because that's all I need is for the back. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this rubber bumper here. And if you can, or if it's possible for you to have a friend to help you out in this department because it is going to get very tricky. We got our cables here. All right, so we have our license plate bracket right here, or our Fender Eliminator. Now we're going to have this bracket and we are going to line it up with the hole. Like I said, for me it's going to be super tricky because obviously I have nobody to help me here. So just going to try to do the best I can while showing you this and recording all at the same time. I'm going to get that one bolt, this one right here, and I'm going to get it with the back end here. So just bear with me guys as I try to do all this in one shot for you guys. All right, so I got the one. So it looks like this. Everything is like this. All right, so like I said, the luggage bracket goes in first. All right, so now that we got that part, I got my rubber O-ring right here. I decided to choose rubber because I would compress or whatnot. I want to install that on there. And then I have the spacer and lock nut on my pocket so I could just reach. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and line it up through here at the bottom. And then once I do that, get all this done while still holding, because at this point it's kind of getting a little heavy for me to hold this whole thing. So I'm gonna put the little spacer on there and then grab my nut, put it on. All right, hand tighten, and therefore I'm able to kind of alleviate my hand from holding all of that pressure. All right, so now that I got that piece on, now I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and put the screw, just everything how you saw me do, I'm gonna do for the other side. Then after that, pretty much the front screws are easy. Push it through, put the the spacer, and then the lock nut, and tighten everything down. All right, now let me show you the rubber bumpers. As you can see, the rubber bumper is right there. Now you're asking, why are you putting rubber bumpers when the stock one didn't have that? That is true, but the stock stock one, it was also a different setup, as the bolts went to the top and threaded into that plastic that had the locking nut or the thread nut inside this part over here. So it was a little bit of a different setup. But now we're doing this way. So like I was saying, so if I don't put this in here, you can see that this metal bracket, you can see already on how close it is. And I haven't even tightened it. This is still loose. So if I tighten it, it could push against this of the tail light and actually break it. As you can see, there is a gap over here from the tail light to the fairing, and it doesn't go any straight. It's actually, that's how it's installed. If this were to be more up, then I wouldn't have to put that rubber bumper and everything would be fine. Because the way this is constructed, that's why I had to do that, to kind of cushion it and, you know, not press so hard on the tail light area when tightening down all the bolts. All right, now that you got everything pretty much tightened, give it a good shake. The whole bike should move and it should not be wobbly or anything like that. Also, when I was tightening everything, let's go mobile, I was actually able to make that gap between the tail light and the plastic fairing. It looks like I just had to kind of press it really good. Oh, there we go. And it kind of just actually snapped into place. So I'm guessing from the factory, it wasn't really all on there really good. So, but you can see now that gap is really nice and tight. I still kept the rubber grommets on there because it did still provide some extra support on this part. Sorry for the unfocusing, guys, but yeah, so it still provided some good support on that part, because there's still, even though I was able to close this gap here, there's still a gap over here between the metal and here, and it's not because of the rubber grommet, but because that's the way it was anyway. All right, so, and then from this side, curious to see how it was on this side. I don't think it was actually on there really good to begin with. I just thought that that's how it was from the factory with that big gap. But that's already fixed, so everything is looking good. Nothing's broken. That's the most important. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we are going to grab our wires. Now, this is how it looks like underneath. There is a big hole over here now. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our wires, feed it through here, and then grab it from the top over here. And then we're going to start plugging up everything. Okay, as far as the wiring and feeding it through, I decided to feed it through this little pocket area right here, which is pretty much right above the license plate light on the other side. Feed it through here, have it go running through here, running through over here, and then this was where we're at. So we're going to pretty much connect the black cable to the black where we had disconnected it originally. So black will be right here next to this black one, and then the yellow wire is going to connect with this brown one right over here. So there's a port there for the brown, for the yellow, and a port here for the black. So let's go ahead and connect those. And then we're gonna test it out by turning the key. Well, let's get that connected first, and then we'll go ahead and put the key, turn it on, and then make sure that the light is correctly connected. Of course, you wanna make sure that all the wiring is neatly done. So how I did it is I ran the wires through the back of this covering boot, and I already plugged everything in over here. So now that everything is plugged in there, now we're gonna go ahead, I already have the key there. Go ahead and turn the key, okay. Key is on. We're going to go ahead and select our light switch, move it over to the left, over one. Now let's go over to the back of the bike. All right, so once we move our switch over to the left, only one spot. As you can see, our tail light does come on. You don't see the tail light too much because I have it the bar covering it, so you can see that the license plate does come on. So everything is good, looking good there. All right, so next we're going to do is we are going to connect turn signals. Now you could still use your stock turn signals that came off of your E-vader, or you could actually install some brand new ones. Or if you choose not to put any turn signals, then you're pretty much done with this part, and you could just go ahead and start tidying up all the wires over there. Or you may have maybe bought an aftermarket tail light that has integrated turn signals, on this side and on that side. And if you do, just pretty much the same way we had unplugged the first ones, you want to plug them into the ports that we unplugged them from, and then just make sure that you wired everything right for the left side and then for the right side. Okay, well, if you're installing, we're going back to the license plate now. So now that we already got this part installed, now you could have two options. Now, like I said, I don't know if I said it before, but I'm gonna say it right now. You could actually install turn signals because there's a port right here for it, or a hole. So you could either go back with your stock ones and put them over here. The only thing that modification you're gonna need to do to your stock ones to install them, as you can see that it has a screw here, and that was pretty much for the old whale tail setup. So you're gonna have to cut that off, get a Dremel tool and just chop that sucker off, and then you'll be just left with this piece. And then after that, you could just go ahead, feed this through all the way through until you get all the way to the end, and then now would be a good time to put a little bit of thread lock, and then you're going to put it in all the way. You're going to grab your nut, put it through the cables like this, feed it in all the way through until you get to the other side, and then you're going to go ahead and tighten down the nut. So that's anyhow, that's pretty much one option. The other option is pretty much what I'm going to do right now, is actually I'm going to install some different lights. So let me go ahead and put this nut real quick on there. The different light I'm going to go is a little bit more sleeker, a little bit more slim line, as you can see compared to the bigger light. You could see a major difference. This one still uses an old incandescent light bulb. Obviously this is LED, and there's a whole bunch of them. So that's the way I'm gonna go. So same thing of what I just showed you. I'm gonna go ahead and get the cable, and you're gonna stick it in through here, put a little bit of thread lock, and then get the nut, feed it through, and then tighten it in, hand tighten. Alrighty guys, so we are pretty much done with that installation. So really the only thing that's left to do is install your seat back on. So let's go ahead and slide that little guy back in. Alright, and then just snap it in and you are all set. So let's kind of take a little look at how it actually looks. It looks way better. It cleans up the bike so much. I don't even know why manufacturers put that big whale tail on there. It never looks good on any motorcycle. They should just have that. Anyway guys, alright, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button. Don't forget to leave a comment down below, subscribe down below, hit the notification bells. That way you guys are up to date with my latest installations, videos, and applications. Of course, I did put the turn signals on, so everything is nice and looking really good, as you could see. And I was actually able to close the gap between the taillight and the plastic. So again, you may want to check that out on your bike as well, as I'm not sure why there was a big gap there to begin with. So looking really good. But before we actually close out this video, I'll have a link for this particular license plate, Fender Eliminator, down in the description box below. So don't forget to check that out. Alrighty guys. Alright, so that's that. Alright, you guys take care, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.